Hello, welcome to this session. This is session 1 of Unit 3, Public Sector Budgeting. In this unit, we'll be looking at budgeting in the public sector, basically the objectives of public sector budgeting and the processes involved in public sector budgeting. In our current session, we'll be defining what a budget is and then the difference between a budget and budgeting in the public sector. We would also look at the objectives of budgeting in the public sector. By the end of the session, we should be able to distinguish between a budget and budgeting in the public sector. We should also be able to explain the objectives of public sector budgeting. Now, what is a budget? Obviously, we've all have heard a budget, what a budget is one way or the other. In our personal lives, we put together our expenditure plan, what we would want to buy, what we would want to incur on, and where we are expecting money from. Basically, that's a budget. We plan for something in terms of finances. We plan in terms of budget basically is a financial forecast. It is an expression or a list of planned revenue and expenditure for a given period. So you plan for your finances. So you forecast, say in the next 1 week, you want to buy this. You are expecting to get this amount from this particular place. That's a planning, right? So you are planning your revenue and also your expenditure for a particular period. So the government also does same. So in a given year, the government is supposed to submit a budget annually, which gives the financial forecast for the country. They tell us their revenue source and then their revenue target for the period, and also give us a list of expenditure items and programs which they are going to undertake during a particular period or a year. So if you are saying a budget is a list, or if the budget is actually the plan, then what then is budgeting? Budgeting, on the other hand, is a process. So the process of you preparing that plan is what we term as budgeting. So it's the process of preparing a budget which says estimation for revenues and expenses for future periods. So the process that you go through to actually have this list of planned revenue and expenditure is what we term as budget. Now let's consider public sector budget, right? This one is just budget which is being used in the public sector. So it's a detailed financial plan for the coming year, covering all aspects of public sector entities operation, reflecting the resources generated by way of revenue and resource consumed by way of expenditure. So basically, the public sector budgeting, we are considering the budget which covers all the various units in the public sector space, right? So all public sector entities prepare their own budget which covers how they are going to raise funds and also how they are going to spend these funds which has been raised. So that's a public sector budgeting, right? So the budget which is being prepared in the public sector serves as a tool for accountability and transparency. So at the beginning of the period, assuming a minister comes and then gives us their plan in terms of finances, say the Minister of Health, they are planning to actually renovate some of the hospitals around the Volta region or the Western region. So they come to give us a plan. They are expecting foreign donors to bring in this amount of money, and then they are expecting that the hospital in, say, Takrade, if you, yeah, so Takrade will have this amount of money going into that particular hospital renovation, and the one at Volta region will also have this amount of money going into that particular renovation. If this is done, you actually get the sense that they're actually being accountable on how they are going to spend the money, and then they are they are making it transparent so that you know how much money goes into that particular thing. So budget can serve as a tool for accountability and transparency. It's a short-term reflection of government's plan for the future as outlined. So if the government gives us a budget at the end of the year for the next year, we know what the government is seeking to do in the coming years, right? Okay. So these are, let's consider some of the objectives of the public sector budget. We are saying that it is a tool for redistribution of income and wealth. Now, in in our society or in our environment, we know how the levels of life work. So some people are at a very higher space where they take higher incomes, and some other are below where they take a certain minimum amount of income as salaries, right? So the government uses the budget as a tool to redistribute income. So they set taxation targets in a way that they're expecting that those who have a lot of money will be paying more so that they can fund these social programs that will aid those who are not able to earn much to reduce their burden in terms of certain costs, right? So that's how budget is being used as a tool to redistribute income and wealth. And also, budget helps in reallocation of resources. So the government is able to allocate the resources in terms of taxes and other funds collected into productive areas, whether road construction, whether schools construction, whether school feeding programs. These are all the main objectives of the budget. Budget also spares economic growth. So assuming that we have this country where we do not have any budget, we cannot actually tell where we are going the next year or two, right? So there need to be a budget in order for us to know what is our plan for the future. So that if there is any shortfall, we'll be able to go back to the budget and revise in order to actually improve or have this uh, economic growth that we are seeking for. It also helps in managing public enterprises. So you give them this amount of money, this amount of then they actually tell them what this amount of money should be used for. So in that case, you are managing the enterprises in the public space, right? Then it also helps improve economic stability in the country, right? So this brings us to the end of this session. In this session, we've actually looked at what a budget is and what budgeting is. We looked at what a public sector budget is, and also some objectives of budgeting in the public sector, right? So we can spend some few minutes to recap on what we have discussed in this session before moving on.